Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and my camera has broken. If you are new to this channel or you have not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now, we are joined by Neil, 10th Man, and a whole bunch of people in Gilded, so welcome one and all.
Good morning, good morning.
Where is everybody?
Morning.
Is that how you greet people? Where is everybody?
Me moaning about my camera in the pre-show turned into me getting overly confident, thinking it would actually work for the first time in about a week, and it's just my gormless face staring at the staring at the monitor when I go out live. Isn't that wonderful? Anyway, any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon, formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
No, you would need a radius value, and that radius value would have a limitation at the observer's height based on it, and Black Swan destroys that. So there's no Earth curve, there's no radius value to even give you Earth curve.
Okay. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Well, what would you expect any axial rotation of a globe when we just destroyed the globe? No, there's no axial rotation. We see the stars moving, and they say that it's really us moving, but we don't feel any sensation of us moving. Then they do a bunch of little tricks to tell you, well, you're really moving, you just don't feel it.
Any evidence of the R value, Earth radius?
Well, the first 2 points would have a chance of existing if there was one. But since there isn't one, goodbye to the first two as well as this one. But that's what the show is about. We're asking for it. Where's the R value?
Feel free to pipe up from Discord. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Or the panel. This is just me can answer all these questions.
I need Neil with you.
I don't know where he is. Yeah, no knowledge of the distance to the sun. We have an angular relationship that we can use, but that's it.
Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Which one? Because you know there's 3 gravities now.
3?
There's also flat Earth gravity, yes.
Oh, right.
Hey.
No, I don't know if I'd count that.
Hello. Where's everybody?
There's no mainstream flat Earth gravity. A small faction in a small pond of flat earthers claiming that gravity is real doesn't constitute there being a flat Earth gravity. There's Newtonian, which is the notion of mass attracting mass, and there's Einsteinian, which is the bending of a fourth-dimensional space-time. But where in the annals of history are these flat Earth gravity declarations written down, Neil?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you, Arwin. Bloody hell.
And don't ignore me when
I
say
mean, hello. It's good to have you.
Hi.
Well,
How
you
was
come
your day
into
off?
you come into the show, Arvin, while someone's talking. Hello, good morning, instead of waiting for a pause.
I've been sat here
That's
for
true.
about an hour and a half, Arwin, and we've only just started the live show, so I'm just in a bad mood.
What?
I've been sat here for ages trying to set up the show, which doesn't work very well. I'm just getting more and more irritated as the days go by.
Oh, technical issues still.
Yes, non-stop technical issues. Fun.
Okay.
Fun.
All right.
Anyway, scientific evidence of gravity is where we're at. Your response, was it Neil, which one? We've got 3. No, we don't.
Well, there's many types of gravity, just none of them have actual phenomenon.
So what's the contrast to gravity? Relative density, this equilibrium?
No, that's a description when scientifically validating a phenomena we observe. Some things go up, some things just go down, some things remain neutral. And you can establish why that happens based on the density of the medium. So the disequilibrium, i.e. some things would go down. So some leaves that are floating on the top of the water, you suddenly watch them sinking down to the bottom. Well, why does it do that? Well, you can put that through the scientific method. Anthony Riley did precisely that.
Right. So if someone's listening and they're saying gravity's not real and it can't be proven, so then why do things fall? You just described it.
What makes what Anthony Riley did science when what I did and what Nick Fouquet-Word did, or what anybody did when they added salt to an egg in some water? What made what Anthony Riley did different to what I did or Nick did? Anybody know? I'll tell you. He followed the scientific method. Step 1, observe natural phenomena. I've already detailed it. In nature, some things go up, some things go down, and some things remain neutral. That's the phenomena being studied. Step 1, observe natural phenomena. Step 2, formulate a viable hypothesis. That is your prediction. The density of the medium causes the item to change vector. The vector change is the phenomena. The density of the medium is the presumed cause of the effect. Your null being the density of the medium will not cause a vector change. That's the null. Then you do an experiment. That's an actualization of your prediction of the cause of the effect you studied that you observed in nature. That is to say, you vary the density and see if it induces a vector change. If it does, you validate your alternative hypothesis. If you do not, then you validate. That's prove your null. Anthony varied the density of the medium in line with his scientific prediction, that's a hypothesis, and induced the predicted effect. That would be the phenomena he observed in nature. Ergo, he scientifically validated the cause of the effect observed in nature. Ergo, his outcome is a scientific one. He scientifically validated the cause of the effect.
Is a non-physical medium.
Pardon?
Physical medium?
Physical medium? You have to string that into a sentence, I'm afraid, whoever that was.
I'm saying, what if it's a physical medium?
You're breaking up. I didn't get that the third time either. One last try, Jorge.
What if it's a possible physical medium?
This is not going to work. I'm sorry, Jorge. Drop and
It's
rejoin.
breaking up
You
so
just
bad.
can't make out enough words to understand your context. Sorry.
I think he just needs to lower his audio sensitivity a bit more.
Yeah, it could be a technical issue there, Jorge. Lower your audio sensitivity. Whatever the hell that means. Yes.
Lower your
I know.
physical medium.
Okay. So are we all clear what Anthony did in regards... The reason that was discussed was because somebody asked it in regards to gravity. Did I at any point in my discussion of what Anthony Riley scientifically validated in terms of cause of an effect he observed in nature, did anybody mention anything to do with gravity or anything that was manipulated as a presumed cause of the effect observed being gravity? Was that at any point disclosed?
No.
So it's got sod all to do with gravity. So then the question becomes, well, what is gravity? Who's claiming it? You tell me what it is. And if you say it's something affecting our physical reality, you better show me it doing that. Not show me a different effect and not validate that you're just so story of gravity. be it a bending conceptual fourth dimensional space-time, as in Einstein's gravitational conceptions, or mass attracting mass. Either way, you just got to show me that. If you don't, then you haven't. Hey, Chocolate.
Good morning, guys.
So when
morning.
Neil deGrasse Tyson wants to do the parlor trick and grabs a microphone and lets go from his hand and it hits the ground, he's basically saying that's gravity. And yet we can't even observe mass attracts mass in our daily life.
Mass attracts mass. What year is it again? thought that was the old and busted.
1907, it
It's
was
just one
superseded.
model.
Yeah.
It's just one model that's no longer officially recognized because it still had claims about the physical reality that people could basically disprove. Einstein's version was much more convenient because it draws it all into math and then keeps it there.
I think it was 1905, not 1907. So it's coming up on 108 years out of date.
Yeah, it's definitely old and busted. They need to move on to the new hotness.
Oh, but hold on. They still did use it in the moon landings, though, to determine the gravity of the moon.
Okay, so QE shared with me I don't know where he got it from. He didn't cite any source. It was a trimmed out, posted up video that had a very well presented guy with a nice backdrop talking about Bart Sabrell's video, where a guy who was the son of a security guard on one of the doors of two of the hangars that were cleared out so they could be filled with the sand and cement mix so that it could be used to fake the moon landings, right? So he's disclosed all this information essentially on his deathbed as he's dying with cancer, having kept the secret under the orders, if you will, of his father to not disclose this information ever, on pain of family suffering at the hands of the government, according to what he said. So I listened to his entire spiel on his deathbed, so to speak. That has now made its way to other reporting outlets, of which I don't know. I haven't had a chance to discuss it with QE. But it's a very, very interesting story. We already knew it was all fake, and it had to be. There's no other option. It couldn't not be fake on account of the fact they haven't gone through a second law of thermodynamics violation, sky vacuum, to get to the moon to film it for real. So they'd had to have faked it somehow. Doesn't really matter how, but this guy's basically alluding to how his father told him they faked it. Because there was a lot of building work going on, it didn't matter. Nobody would have noticed a load of sand and building materials like cement mix going missing to make the set, for it to then be completely sterilized afterwards, i.e. cleaned, to the point where no one would know that anything had happened and everything was returned to normal or normalized. So there we go. There's somebody, a whistleblower, so to speak, who's telling you on his deathbed, there, they faked the moon landings. We already knew they couldn't have not faked them. They had to fake them because they claimed to go to Narnia to do them. It's like saying, yeah, they dressed up a hangar to make Narnia. They didn't really go to Narnia through the wardrobe. Really? Yeah, we know they're not going to the moon because the space that they went through, that would be a second law of thermodynamics violation, sky vacuum called outer space. We'd all be dead. None of us would have any gas to breathe. The gas we breathe would fill that space. They definitely didn't travel to it to go to a moon. So yeah, they faked it. How they faked it, we're now finding out, was with sand and cement mix. Yeah. I already knew that as well. I didn't know what they used, but I knew it was on a set. I've been saying it since the day I arrived in Flat Earth. It's blatantly obvious, having worked in performing arts and trained as an actor, what a bloody set looks like, what High Wire looks like, and what faking moon landings looks like. Go and have a look at the moon footage. That's what faking the moon looks like. Crappy old 60s footage. It's terrible. Very low standard.
Well, didn't the Red Hot Chili Peppers write a song?
It said space may be the final frontier, but it's filmed in a Hollywood basement. Well, in this case, it's actually filmed in a hangar.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was QE that also posted it. I did post that video originally because obviously, they had to fake that, and that's after the fact for us. But I thought it was interesting because here you got a guy on his deathbed, swearing, making Bart Sabrell swear that he won't release this thing until he's dead, and basically what you just said, just setting up this whole hoax. So I thought it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, it was.
Well,
I mean,
did you?
go on.
I was going to say, well, did you hear that the Chinese found the next precious metal on the moon?
No, they didn't. But did I hear that they lied about finding stuff on the moon, having travelled through a second law of thermodynamics violation to get to a place we can't visit, a light in the sky we call the moon? I didn't know, but no, they haven't.
Right. So, but anyway, they've got people believing that we need to go back to the moon now because China has found a special rock on the moon, and they're going to start mining there in Narnia, and we got to get to Narnia first.
I could take the mystery out of this. It's just petrified wood. A museum in Europe has a piece of it.
Got an update on Skype. It's actually adamantium that they're mining. Very valuable.
I say it's vibranium.
I was thinking of bullshitium.
Bullshitium is an alternative, but the Chinese have already mined all that. Along with the Chinese.
It's funny that when the Chinese had their fake moon landing, like I heard like a lot of their pictures they had to take off because it's like they didn't even it didn't match up with what it looked like on the moon. So a lot of those pictures you can't even find now. I did save like 2 of them, but it was like funny because you see like their rover coming out of the thing. It's like it's so ridiculous. I don't know how people believe any of that crap.
That's a good question. I was hoping you'd end on that. They don't even know about it. So this is one of the things I've taken upon myself to actually ask people about. So while prior to this, the last thing I was asking people about was Spaceman or Starman or something like that, a guy in a Tesla. Hold on, there's a guy climbing up literally up my wall on the ladder to clean the windows. So if there's a lot of noise, my apologies. Anyway, that was the last time I actually took it upon myself to ask people around me, my family and friends, what do you make of this? And was it Starman?
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe so, yes.
The guy in the dummy in a Tesla shot out into space, so real it looks fake, or whatever the quote from whatever his name is, Musk. Anyway, I've recently been asking people.
You can tell it's real because it looks so fake.
Boom. Right. You can tell it's real because it looks like fake. It's so fake. Or whatever that comment comes from. Starman being shot out in a Tesla Roadster into what they claim is space, but looks so incredibly CGI because it is. It's just their, second-rate version of NASA, who are genuinely on the cutting edge of cinematography, unlike Musk. But his second-rate attempt was, it's real because it looks so fake. Yeah, okay, whatever you say. Anyway, I get to my point. I've been asking people, what do you think of the Chinese there landing on the moon? Nobody, without exception, not one person I've asked so far around me even knew that was the case. It hasn't made it out into our mainstream media enough for people to be even asking about it. So when you say, well, did you know they'd landed on the moon, the Chinese? Most people go, no. And then you start presenting them with the absolutely atrocious footage that Chocolate was talking about. And they go, really? They can't quite. It's another one of them where they say, yeah, but they're not pretending this is the actual footage from the moon, are they? And you're like, hold on, this is your narrative and your religion that we're going to the moon, not mine. Why are you asking me if it's presented as real? You should be selling it to me, not the other way around.
Exactly.
We're going to have Chinese
It happens
chopsticks.
all the time. Sorry, buddy.
Lunar chopsticks.
Again, Jorge?
He said lunar chopsticks, I think.
Jorge's got a mic issue today.
From the petrified.
It's not Jorge's issue. It's just getting used to Gilded. So I think his mic line was he's just overly cautious, which I'd rather he was now that he's, But you're okay now, Jorge. You sound clear enough now. It's all good.
Cheers.
No problem.
I was referring to the petrified wood. You can do chopsticks with it.
Gotcha. It's not that big. It's not long enough. We went to see it. So I've actually still got this video up. It's on Flat Earth Meetings or something like that in the playlist under my channel if you go to the front page. And in there's we went to Hereford. I believe it's in Hereford. I can't remember. Anyway, we went and saw whatever the equivalent of the British Space Museum is out here, and they've got one of the moon rocks, the petrified wood with all the sparklies in it. So we got to go and have a look at it. But yeah, it's not long enough to make chopsticks out of, though. Not that that's very useful to know. We haven't actually asked the space question. Is there any evidence you can have gas pressure? That's what we're all breathing, 14.7 psi at sea level, without a container.
Did you say PSI?
Yeah, pounds per square inch.
Pounds per square inch of what?
Pressure. Force upon the wall of the container.
Yeah, it just sounds like when you say pounds per square inch, you're talking about some sort of a volume. I don't know how you'd have that in the great expanse of space. Not sure how that works out.
Imagine a tire. Well, when you measure it in PSI, you're measuring the force per square inch of the tire. The force on the rim and the tire combined is the square inch that they're talking about. The container. So we're saying, given that we have gas pressure that we're all breathing, how do you have that gas pressure without the tire? Because the world is described as a wheel, a circle, but spherical instead of circular, like a car tire, but without a tire around it. But it's got gas pressure clinging to the edge of the rim of the wheel without a tire in the heliocentric world. It's just a complete lie. Space is fake. Narnia by equivalent. There is no outer space. If there was, we'd all be dead. The gas we breathe would fill that space. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating... Go on, whoever in Discord. Discord. I am. Whoever said I was like, no worries, I'll get used to saying gilded. You will of hell. Go ahead.
I'd have way better CGI if it was fake.
Than Musk. Way better than what?
You can tell it's real because it looks so fake.
Oh, it's Musk's recording. It was a soundbite. Thank you, Creation Bear. You can tell it's real because it looks so fake. No, we can tell it's fake because it looks so fake. And it's a second law of thermodynamics violation to assert that you got this car to be jettisoned out from the gas pressure we're all breathing into an area that the gas would also be able to travel to, because gas moves at high velocity. As fast as your rocket, well, the gas would just follow it straight out into that area where the car is. So, yeah, we know it's fake. Not that it looks fake. It's that we don't need to be told Narnia's not real. Outer space isn't real. It's like Narnia doesn't exist. We'd all be dead if it was real.
Can I pile on?
You guys see the new Fast? Did you guys see the new Fast and the Furious movie?
No, but
where
I'm
they launch a car in space. Duct tape fixes a seal. What else has it got?
Are they? Oh, if it's anything like any of the other Fast and Furious movies, it's very much tongue in cheek. So I would assume from that they're taking the piss out of it. Am I right?
It's over the top. If that's what you meant, it's very, very over the top. But I had some good stuff. I even had instead of spacesuits, they had to use scuba diving suits.
Let me just rephrase it right. If you think back to some of the older Fast and Furious movies, for example, when you've got like a muscle car firing out wires in a crossroads and then doing donuts to spin cars around in a cross section of the city, right? Now, typically, when I talk about suspending disbelief, right? In the Fast and Furious movies, you go into those movies knowing that it's like James Bond, but so much more that it's ludicrous to ever assume that you can jump over buildings in a car. You can get a Zonda to jump out of a high-rise building. It's ludicrous. and people understand that, right? So with that in mind, people are going to be watching the same narratives of space with that type of suspension of disbelief in mind. I know it's silly, but it's a bit of fun. Oh, putting tape on stuff in space. I know it's silly, but it's a bit of fun. Hang on a second. Do you see where I'm going?
In a sense.
Well, in real life, you just need a thumb. You don't even need the tape, right? That's the story we get anyway.
But it was quite a shock because I was watching this movie and this was happening because I didn't see no trailer or anything, and I'm like, wow. And it almost looked like, sometimes it almost feels like they follow the narrative that, like, you know, is out there on YouTube in regards to the scene, right? Because it almost seems like they're poking fun at some of the stuff that we point out. But anyways, yeah, there's a car in space in there, you know, on a rocket booster. And I was gonna say it looks pretty real. I guess it looks more real than what Musk showed us.
I think it looks so ridiculous and impossible.
But anyways, I think you guys.
It's just more Musk quotes from Creation Bear. Go ahead, Creation Bear. Let's hear it.
Well, I think it looks so ridiculous and impossible.
Oh, yeah.
And he says that before he says
I think
you can tell it's real, that it looks so fake.
Yeah, it's over apologetic.
That's how he starts the interview about the car he just put into space. That's how he starts his interview. It's like, what? Is this serious right now? It's crazy.
Guys,
That's his disclaimer.
Go on.
Given all that you, like, I could give you everything that you just said as being true, but we still got to beat the Chinese there. Okay.
We still got to beat them.
That's Musk delivering his disclaimer so he can never get sued for lying about it.
I don't view it that way. I really don't. Maybe, but I more view it that if you guys keep up with the behavior panel when they're talking about people and how they lie, it's just he knows he's lying, he knows he's bullshitting, and he's making apologetics in advance because in his mind it doesn't look good enough. He's just being honest in that regard. You know it's real because it looks so fake. He's taking the mickey out of you in your own psychology, but he's also making apologetics for how crap it actually looks. That's what's really... He's hiding the meaning of his actual words behind his actual words because he thinks he's clever. Okay. You're not that smart, Musk.
I can't take this anymore. Listen, does he have a space program or not?
A space program?
Yes.
Sorry, what's a program?
I'm going to get riddled if I need chocolate.
This is what this is. What do you mean riddled? This is magic. What he's doing is magic.
I'm trying to explain the magic, but then I need you to play along. So,
when do they portray Tesla himself, Mr. Tesla being Elon Musk in this instance? When did they last portray him in a movie? And what was the name of the movie?
The Prestige.
The Prestige. And what's The Prestige about?
Magic.
Magic tricks. But they also mislead you as you suspend disbelief about what has led you to believe in some way true story because it's about a man called Tesla in that regard. It's not. It's about a couple of magicians and their strife between each other. But it's primarily about Tesla because the magic trick they're talking about is a teleportation magic trick device by way of the Tesla's free energy bullshit, right? That's what the story's actually about. But it's about magic like it's the illusion of the trick, right? And the prestige being the reveal at the end. So the example they give in the movie of what a prestige is, to bring this back to what magic isn't, because I'm saying it's just words. Spelling, grammar, grimoire. Look it up. That's what we're really talking about. But they allude to Tesla doing magic tricks. Illusionary. Smoke and mirrors, if you will. And the prestige is the reveal at the end. You crush the bird in the table, and then when you pull it out from in your sleeve, it makes it look like it's teleported. Isn't that magic? Until you know how the trick's done. That's the idea. But this isn't what magic really is. Magic are the words that we use. Now, they can give you away as much as they can cast the spell you're trying to cast. And in this case, the spell is space. In this case, the magician is Elon Musk. The problem is, Elon Musk's not a skilled magician. Now, who is a skilled magician? Someone I've got admiration for as an actual magician. I'll tell you, Tyson. Neil deGrasse Tyson is an exceptionally skilled magician. He can cast really good magic spells. If you want to see an example of a magic spell that worked on multiple levels across multiple denominations of people, look at him slapping the beach ball. Yeah? And saying, that stuff is flat. That is an incredible magic trick. Really, really well executed. Works on many levels. It's superb. Contrast that with, it knows real because it looks so fake. Yeah, just get a grip, Musk. You're not a skilled magician. Look at how the good ones do it before you start going on telly and talking about your crap footage. You got to sell it with the pizzazz of Tyson. That's a skilled magician.
You don't see the curvature of the earth.
Chance to answer it.
Got some great sound bites going on today from Creation Bear with his sound desk.
I was going to say Neil deGrasse.
You're making a great point there. Like, Neil speaks with so much more conviction, doesn't he?
It's not yes, that's part of it. Yes, the gab is part of it, but it's not the main essence of the trick. The main essence with Neil deGrasse Tyson and his trick is how he spins the words he's using into a clever. Let's give you a different example. When he talks about the ball curving through the goalpost, right? If you actually go and analyze what he actually says in detail, he's not careless enough to say specifically because the earth turns under the football. He never says it in that context. He describes it and he's like, and it moves a little bit to the left. That's him describing how earth turns underneath. But he's doing it with body language, with muttering tones, but giving you just enough information to understand in your mind what he's saying. You don't, though. He's saying earth turns underneath the football, but he never says it. That's skill.
He says Earth's rotation.
Did a quick calculation, and I tweeted. The winning field goal in that game was aided by a 1/3 of an inch deflection to the right from Earth's rotation.
Yeah.
Extremely skilled magician, Tyson.
Shout out to my boy Creation Bear with the sickest soundboard ever.
Hey, y'all rumpus my pun. You all wouldn't let me throw my little 2 cents.
Go on then.
They would have just deflected to the right, 10th.
Oh, we got ahead of you with the magic speed there.
Did you steal his pen, John?
No. It's old and busted if I say it now, but I'll wait for another day.
Anyway,
That was his
I'm
best
driving at.
magic trick, I think.
The point I'm driving at is the magic is in the words being used, right? How it gets sold is people sell things. Yeah. Products, concepts, they don't sell themselves. People have to sell them. And the skill of the salesman is the gab. So whoever earlier was like, it's in how he's saying it, in the passion he puts into it. And I've seen many different interviews and many different phraseologies to know that he's doing it on the fly. It's not coming from a script. It's his own intelligence in his own magic trick. His exceptional understanding of how his magic trick works, what he should say, what he should avoid saying. All of those things are well and truly present when you see Neil deGrasse Tyson in an interview scenario. Even if he's aware of what the questions are going to be, even if they're scripted questions, he still has to a certain extent, put the intonation in the phraseology to get the magic trick to work. And that is what magic is. It isn't in the images necessarily. They just help. You've got to have a guy standing there selling it to you. Now, this is where the crux of the current argument between Jaron and myself is also useful in an educational context, because it's the difference between looking at how logic works in the case of the scientific method in this argument. So it's proving things with its empirical logic. If A, then B, or if A, not B, and an only or outcome, from one or other outcome being the only result that you'll get to prove whichever you find is the case when you vary A and see if it does or doesn't cause B. Well, you contrast that with the words of men. So throw up Jeranism with his wiki search parroting off what Google says in the headlines about science doesn't prove things from a man who hasn't got any science. Look, science only disproves things from a man who hasn't got any science, etc., etc., etc. Well, the words of men are magic tricks. That's where the deception comes in when we're trying to explain how, yes, they say they've got science, yes, they say they've got experiments, but this is what the word actually means. And if you don't know what experiment means or what science actually means and how it's used in context with nature, that would be natural science then. If you don't know, then you're being duped because they do and they're using it to their advantage. That is magic. They're using the words, they're using the grammar, and they're phrasing it in such a way that either catches you out, like with Tyson, and it took a 1/4 inch deflection to the right because of Earth's rotation, with a very carefully placed pause in between. Well, there's a mental break that you're going to take in that pause that he put in that little statement to not connect Earth turning underneath football. And he hasn't said it, so he's not caused any problems with the undoing of his magic trick that Earth turns underneath stuff when it doesn't. Yeah? So that's what I'm trying to convey when I have arguments like this with people who deny science, in this case, Jaron. Well, no, knowing what science actually does means when you hear someone use that word, you will immediately contextualize it with what it should mean and try and find out if it does for them. So when someone says experiment, do you actually mean empirical proof put through the scientific method, or do you just use the word to make me believe you proved something? Let's see which one it is. Because then you're undoing their magic tricks. That's what we do here. Undo magic. And one of the magic tricks is a scientifically based one. Doesn't mean that I've got to become a scientist. It doesn't mean I've got to advance humanity by figuring out the cause of some, I don't know, effect that's causing people to die. Doesn't mean I've got to advance people with some scientific validity that will go on to create great technology. It just means I have to understand the magic of using those words out of context. And if you, as the audience member watching this or listening to this now, can say, I do appreciate that when someone says science, it has a meaning. And if you listen to my recent clip from 4 years ago with Bob, and he says it's just semantics, and I say, how dare you? Because that's what this is really about. The reason I got so annoyed and so tetchy with him when he said that is because semantics is words and their meaning. And that's critical. Because when he says, well, let's go and have a look at this video that's contextualized as being an experiment, then that is the semantics that's being used to deceive you into thinking it's proof. That is semantics. So casting it off like it's just words and their meanings. Yeah, science and proof being the context. That's the semantics we're talking about. So hopefully this little diatribe has got you to all understand that it isn't about science. It's about magic. And magic is how you get deceived. And some of those words might have a scientific proof alluded to in the words, in the magic. Go ahead, Neil.
You exposing his magic trick. That's why he got so upset.
Exactly. Bob's casting a magic spell that is the same magic spell that is used by globe believers when they say they've got experiments to prove we're on a globe. To say you've got experiments to prove we've got ether is the exact same magic trick. That's why I'm being called a scammer, because I exposed the magic trick. The guy at the back of the theatre who says he's got 2 birds when he put the first bird into the cage and killed it in a magic table that crushed the entire cage, he didn't tell you he'd got a second bird. So the guy on stage says, remove that scammer.
I was about to say, that's the reaction you get from a magician called out on stage whenever you call out his trick. You know, they're going to defend themselves in their minds. They don't want you destroying the illusion.
You know, there's levels to this shit, though, right? So I would say, like, yeah, there's like the kind of subtle magic trick that somebody like Neil Smoking Grass Tyson will do. And then there's a more blatant kind of just, I guess it's the Jedi mind trick, when they literally tell you to think of something else. Perfect example, Mr. George Muser. We can, we do, we must consider Newtonian gravity as a force. Doesn't mean it really is one, but we don't have to work at the really is level. End quote. Now that's a man telling you that something that's not a force, you could just think of as a force. So if that's not a Jedi mind trick, I don't know what is.
Well,
That's crazy.
he's telling Fight the Fat Shirt that you know, you're not smart enough to understand this. Just accept it as a force because it's something you can get. That's what he's doing.
Yeah, even if it's not
a force, but
really
you
is
think
level.
of it.
Hold on. Go ahead, Creation, but I think we're running the soundbite. You're on fire, mate.
It's a similar thing with Newtonian gravity. We can and do, and we must think of Newtonian gravity as a force. That doesn't mean it really is, but we don't necessarily need to work at the really is level in this case.
We don't have to
thanks,
work
George.
at the really is level in this case when talking about gravity as a force that I give you permission to think of it as.
I think that's just a devastating quote. I actually couldn't believe when he said that. I was like, am I really hearing this? Is this really going on?
So can I get back to my question that got hijacked? Does Elon Musk have a space program?
Yeah.
Okay. And in the space program of his chocolate, does he have engineers that design his rockets and whatever material they're made out of to withstand the temperatures and extremities of space, the so-called space?
Sorry, come again? In Narnia? What's to concern yourself with in Narnia?
No, in Narnia. This is a Narnia conversation. Yes, I admit. None of it is real. This is all Narnia. Let me have my Narnia with chocolate. Sounds like a nice dish, too. Narnia with chocolate. So, chocolate, play along in Narnia.
Yes, supposedly there are engineers and stuff making stuff for this guy's space program in Narnia. Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's loud over here.
Yeah, and did he not say that that was a production car off the factory floor that they launched into space? There was nothing special about it?
Yeah. Supposedly that was the story.
Yep.
No modifications to it.
Yeah, no
From what I heard,
modifications.
yeah.
So this is all Narnia now, so don't jump down my throat. So supposedly when we see the video of that Tesla car with Spaceman in there, we are seeing the dashboard that's not melting and tires that are nice. And I think it's like over 4,000 degrees at that place that they say it was. Now, if that isn't a clue that you're being tricked, I don't know what is.
But there's no gas particles to interact with the matter to melt it. So that's the reason it doesn't.
You want to repeat that again?
There's no gas particles to interact with the matter to melt it. That's why it doesn't.
So then why did the astronauts have to have all that protection, and why does the outside of the space shuttle have things protecting it if there's nothing to protect?
Have a quarter of an inch of aluminum foil.
Yeah, I wouldn't call that
hold on. We've
protection.
got a couple of examples on screen, right? So we've got Mega Maid, and we've got a man in a spacesuit doing a spacewalk. Okay, so these are the two examples.
Yeah, so she's fully protected with that dress, and the vacuum will work with a battery on it because there's no particles out there.
Right. There's no particles out there to melt her. And the reason he's wearing that suit is because it's a vacuum.
Wait, I thought the new canon story was that the atmosphere extends to about 390,000 miles away. What happened?
That's
How is there no
differential.
gas up there now?
Well, it's a differential. It's really, really low at this point. It's like 10 to the negative 3 torque.
Okay, so here, this bit here where my mouse is on screen now, right? this is space, outer space, right? A sky vacuum. Well, that's claimed to be 10 to the minus 17 torr, isn't it?
Yeah.
And this is a cloud.
Yeah, that's pressure right there. Yeah.
So this cloud, a high pressure gas, is next to 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum with nothing in between it. Correct?
Thank goodness those air molecules have little springs on them, or we would
Springs?
just lose all that air.
Springs? What do you mean springs?
They got little springs on them.
No, they don't.
That's how gas works.
No,
No,
gas
it's the
expands in all
rebellious
directions.
gas particles.
No. Let's get that cleared up. Gas expands in all directions at high velocities.
No, the Rumpus 2022.
That's right. Rumpus 2022. That was my citation. Gas has little springs on it.
What?
You not remember Rumpus saying that? When you think about it, you think of them like they've got springs on them.
Yeah, he definitely did say that. You don't remember that?
Okay.
Nick?
The rumpus.
Okay, let's just say I've got a little ball, like a tennis ball, right? And this tennis ball, I'm going to throw it, but when I throw it, it's going to carry on in whatever direction I throw it in. Yeah? That's a bit like gas behavior. Now let's take the same ball and attach springs to it. What the hell difference does that make?
Those springs are attached to the Earth, so that they can only spring so far away from the Earth, I think was the...
That's a tether. No, that's not correct, because gases fundamentally in that state are unbonded. They're not attached to anything. They're not attached to the Earth with a spring that's going to go, like in Wile E. Coyote, ba-doing, and come back down again.
No, but
Well, that's the point that
think of it like that if you think you live on a ball, because it's the only thing that could allow gas pressure next to a container is to have an imaginary tether to defy gas behavior.
Okay, well, gas is
exactly.
unbonded, so
I'm
no.
glad you understand this.
Gas is unbonded, so no.
What Rumpus was claiming is that they have little springs and they spring off the surface of Earth and they go up and then they come back down. That's what he was saying with it, saying, like, you look at bouncy balls, you bounce it off the floor, it goes up, but then it comes back down. So what he's actually insinuating is that they have weight and they're brought down via their weight, which was given to them via a force of gravity due to an attraction between masses.
I see. So like gas go down, go boom, boom, like bouncy balls poured into a fish tank, that sort of thing.
That's what he's claiming, yeah, with that.
All right, but gas doesn't do that. Gas comes out of the ground and goes up. It expands in all directions, all vectors at high velocity until it collides with something. Now, it can collide with other particles of gas. That can happen. It does. Down at ground level, gas is banging around all over the place, into each other all over the place. But as you go up, obviously, you're filling the container. That means dissipation. It's dissipating, getting further apart, less and less likely to collide with another gas particle. But eventually, it's going to either get more and more dissipated as it expands into the available volume as per entropy law, or it's going to collide with the walls of a container. It can only do one or other. If it doesn't collide with the walls of a container, it just expands in all directions. It doesn't reach an arbitrary height like a solid bonded bouncy ball and come back down because it's more dense than the medium that it's in. At that point, the gas is the medium, and it's just expanding in all directions when it's in that state.
Then that would debunk the rebellious gas particles who decided to, instead of acting like what gas would act like, do the opposite and actually retain this pressure without any form of a container. So, thank goodness for those guys.
I think I know what the problem is, Chocolate. Nathan's wanting to work at the really is level, as opposed to the level that allows the ball to maintain gas pressure without a container.
Right, and if you don't have the rebellious gas particles, then they're not going to be homesick moving in with the direction of Earth to allow for conservation of momentum.
Okay, let's just fill people in the audience because they might not know what the hell we're talking about. So on screen now, we've got your Mega Maid and Spaceman, yeah? I'll just take whoever this is, Adam off for a second. Okay. So around about here, somewhere around that sort of markish, we're going to draw an arbitrary line. That is, say, I'm going to make it up. And I'm going to give this line a name. I'm going to call it Carmen. So we're going to have an arbitrary line called Carmen that I arbitrarily draw. About here is good. Okay? So that's where we're going to say that at that point, the gas expands, as it does, up to that point. But then the gas particles turn around to each other and say, you know what? I'm not going to obey this law anymore. I'm a free spirit. This entropy law? Nah, not for me. And as a sign of my defiance of entropy law, I'm going to burn my bra right here at this line we're going to arbitrarily call Carmen. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to eat cakes. I'm going to moan about men. I'm going to put on a load of weight. And I'm going to fall back down to earth. Because that is what I am going to do. Because we are the defiant gas particles. Stand together. I don't know why we've feminized them, but we have. They're feminine in this example.
Well, now they're also traveling along with the rotation of Earth, so they're homesick too. So that's why they do that.
No matter how much they want to defy the gas law, they just find that there's another arbitrarily imposed law that isn't real that they have to obey even if they don't want to. And if they don't, the people on the ground just pretend they do anyway. So it's like we're chilling here at the Carmen line and the people below just say that we're moving around with the ground still attached to it on springs. We're not. We're free spirits. We're burning our bras. We're staying where we are here at the Carmen line. We're not moving along with Earth because that would be a violation of a different law, but we don't want to be involved with these laws anymore. We're here chilling, eating cakes.
Being in their narrative, there are the rebellious ones, and then there are also the ones that actually do want to act like gas and supposedly do escape. Do you think those are the ones that just get their asses kicked by the rebellious ones, and then the rebellious ones just kick them out?
No, they get gathered.
Wouldn't you think
they get gathered up into these special containers and taken off for weighing, so that the guys on the ground can tell you how much by weight we lose to the sky vacuum daily.
Because you would think we would just lose all of it, but apparently,
not only would you lose all of it, if this black area was a sky vacuum, 10 to the minus 17 torr, there would be absolutely zero opportunity for the gas pressure to ever develop in the first place. So the first gas particle would leave the ground and vacate the surface and go, whew! And then the second particle, we're going to pretend my mouse is a gas particle, comes out of the ground and goes, whew! And that's what happens to every single subsequent particle of gas that is ever created from ground level ever. It comes out of the ground and goes, whoo, and disappears until it collides with something. So we would never have developed gas pressure in the first place if the sky was a vacuum called outer space. It isn't.
You mean as it's trying to maintain the outside of a spherical object moving around a gaseous object in a vacuum at 66,600 miles per hour? You mean like that?
Gas fills the availability of volume it has to fill.
But what if you take
again?
What if you take a bucket and fill it with water and spin it really fast? Will the water come out?
Goes like this, Neil.
Yeah, that's
so
fallacy. Got to call that. How can it make a sound if there's no gas particles for a sound wave to travel through?
I'll do it
goes
again.
like this.
Everyone be quiet. Okay.
That's exactly the noise.
That checks out.
In space, no one can hear you scream. Simultaneously, in space, if you're being attacked by an alien, the best thing you can do is shoot out the window so that the high-pressure gas inside your ship tries to force its way out into the low-pressure vacuum, like gas does, hopefully taking the alien with it, sucking it through the glass. Of course, while that's happening, you can look out of the empty window with the differential of the high-pressure gas inside the ship trying to get out into the low-pressure vacuum and see below you an Earth with a high pressure gas not doing anything, just chilling. It's not trying to escape into the vacuum at all. Didn't need any glass around the Earth to keep its gas, but your little spaceship definitely does. And if there's any breach of it, the gas will escape into the sky vacuum, high pressure to low pressure. Unlike the Earth beneath you, which is high pressure, not going to low pressure.
And then to maintain that story, right, based off that narrative, then you got years later or decades later, you got Spider-Man, who in the Marvel movie Avengers Infinity War saw the old Aliens movie and decided to use that very same idea to get rid of the what was his name, Magwan something, that had Doctor Strange held up. So apparently that idea is a pretty good one, good solid one.
Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Nah.
Okay. Any evidence you can acquire an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline?
Well, after you use the flat plane to measure it flat and model it flat, I can show you what formula you need to apply to make it a sphere.
Did you need the question again? I mean, that's lovely and all, but is there any evidence you can acquire an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline?
No.
Well, no, I need the curve base.
Without
I need the
complaining of elevation angle.
Fair enough. What did you have to add, One Deck?
I was just saying no, and you don't ever see this curved baseline in any of the celestial navigation books either. It shows you flatness, all the elevation angle, no curve.
right. If it wasn't a flat plane, we couldn't calculate it as a sphere.
Why would you need to convert it?
Correct.
Why would, if it was a sphere, why would you need to apply this conversion? Why would the Haversine formula even exist? If you're measuring a spherical surface to begin with, why is it necessary to convert to spherical by way of Haversine?
That's backwards.
Earth is flat. Obviously, observably, measurably, navigatably flat. With that, I'm going to say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oh yeah, my camera's broken. Premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you to all of you. Smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, hit the thanks button after the fact, and all that good stuff. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on an after show. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!